Now, we finally have an update on the drowning death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now, according to ABC7, they stated that Malcolm Jamal Warner had drowned while he was on vacation in Costa Rica. Now, the article goes on to say that Warner had drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on Sunday. So this actually occurred on Sunday. They stated that the Costa Rican National Police had told this to ABC News.
On the grainy cell phone clip that rocketed across X the morning of July 20th, Malcolm Jamal Warner walks an empty Costa Rican shoreline like a man being followed. Every few steps, he glances back, shoulders tight, hands fidgeting at the edge of frame. It should have been nothing more than a late-night stroll before bed, yet hours later, the 54-year-old actor would be pronounced dead. His body recovered just beyond the break at Playa Grande. Officials called it an accidental drowning, but singer-turned-whistleblower Jaguar Wright immediately sounded a different alarm. Warner, she insisted, wasn't vacationing, he was running for his life, and whoever scared him off the grid may have followed him into the surf. The autopsy listed asphyxiation by drowning. Wright called it a cover-up. Fans were left staring at that beach video, asking why a lifelong strong swimmer looked too terrified to dip a toe in the water. And when U.S. authorities quietly confirmed they were monitoring the foreign investigation, the tragic headline began to feel like the prologue to a far bigger story. 48 hours after Warner's death hit the wires, Jaguar Wright logged onto a YouTube livestream titled, "They Silenced Theo, Now They're Scrubbing the Scene." She claimed Warner had confided that powerful people were threatening to leak private emails, tank sponsorship deals, and even take him out if he didn't walk away from a slate of interviews he'd lined up for his Not All Hood podcast tour. According to Wright, Warner booked Costa Rica on 24 hours notice, telling a friend he needed somewhere quiet to think, code, she argued, for somewhere off Hollywood's radar. She doubled down on a name and initials list of industry fixers she says have cleaned up messes before, swearing she passed the intel to an attorney in case anything happened. Wright's record is checkered. She's painted as both hero and habitual exaggerator, but more than once, her claims have spurred real reporters to pull public records that later exposed buried lawsuits. This time, she hinted she had phone logs to prove Warner was still receiving anonymous calls right up until that final beach walk. But that wasn't the whole story. Filmed by a tourist trying out a new night vision setting, the 90-second video shows Warner pacing the shoreline in jeans and an unzipped hoodie, sneakers dangling from one hand. Early viewers speculated he might be under the influence, yet the toxicology report released 3 days later confirmed no trace of alcohol or drugs. Former teammates from his high school swim squad told people he once pulled a friend from a rip current during a Jersey Shore senior trip, and Coast Guard instructors have described him as strong, steady, textbook calm in open water drills. That record makes the footage more puzzling. His stride is hurried, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes scanning the dark horizon as though each crashing wave could mask an unwelcome surprise. If he was more worried about on-land threats than the ocean itself, it might explain why he stayed in ankle-deep surf, never venturing far enough to risk a current. Yet only hours later, lifeguards would recover his body beyond the breakers, noting he must have gone in for a dawn swim. The timeline felt stitched together by guesswork, and those stitches were already starting to fray. And the official story split in two almost immediately. Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Agency issued its first press note at noon. Warner was on the shoreline playing with his 8-year-old daughter, spotted a rip current dragging another child, and swam out. The child reached safety. Warner vanished beneath rough surf. Within hours, the chief of the tourist police contradicted nearly every point, telling local reporters Warner's family wasn't on the sand at the time, and describing the victim entering the water with only an adult male friend. Witness surfers, meanwhile, offered 3 tellings. One claimed Warner fought the current, another insisted he floated face down almost immediately, and a third said, "No lifeguards were posted that dawn." When journalists sought clarification, the JIA reissued its original statement, word for word, no corrections, no Q&A. For investigators back home, conflicting national police memos are red meat. For conspiracy forums, they're rocket fuel. Patterns like these, Wright argued, echo a darker Hollywood playbook. During her livestream, Jaguar Wright drew a careful comparison. Dave Chappelle retreating to South Africa in 2005, Martin Lawrence's highly public street outburst, Mariah Carey's sudden hospitalization just months after a record-setting music deal. In each instance, she suggested, the artists resisted industry pressures to perform a certain way and soon found themselves weathering a very public crisis. Warner had spent the past year on Not All Hood challenging long-standing media stereotypes about black masculinity. In April, he called the Kendrick-Drake rivalry an engineered ratings stunt designed to sell ads while two giants clash. By May, he was teasing an upcoming episode on studio contracts that can keep entertainers indebted indefinitely. That same week, insiders leaked that he'd declined a cameo in a major streaming series when asked to dilute his social justice commentary. Friends say he felt more creatively liberated than ever, yet he repeatedly mentioned pushback from the top floor. If Chappelle's $50 million exit showed that Hollywood will pause profits to protect its brand image, Warner's untimely fate stands as an even more sobering reminder of the risks outspoken artists face when they challenge the system.
Everybody wants to know, why'd you walk away from $50 million?
Well, I wasn't walking away from the money.
Yeah.
I was walking away from the circumstances that were coming with the newfound plateau.
Yeah.
It takes a while when you punch through to adjust to the atmosphere. Sounds like somebody's trying to put young Dave in a compromising position. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me when I saw
When you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see it before. Look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy.
Start with the obvious. Warner's podcast averaged 2.4 million streams an episode, small compared to big studio numbers, but huge in the niche social commentary space. Sponsors included an athletic wear startup courting major league contracts and a fintech app negotiating Series C funding. If Warner released emails proving executives manipulated rap beef or suppressed whistleblowers, ad partners could bolt, stock prices could wobble, and future mergers might collapse. Rumor blogs pointed to a publicity firm nicknamed the Janitors for its crisis containment ops. Wright hinted they'd dispatched warning calls. Industry vets counter that this firm merely scrubs Google results, yet multiple lawsuits filed under seal involve its parent conglomerate. Add Warner's refusal to sign a non-disclosure addendum when renegotiating the resident residuals last winter, and the swirl of potential enemies widens beyond one studio into a shadow network of insurers, financiers, and political donors with deep interest in silencing messy narratives. None of this is proven, but the stakes are clear, and that's why word of federal curiosity sent Twitter into meltdown. 3 days after the drowning, a State Department spokesperson confirmed they were facilitating communication between Warner's family and Costa Rican authorities, adding that additional agencies remain in contact where appropriate. That bland line masked a bigger reality: precedent. In 2022, Shankella Robinson's suspicious Cabo death triggered FBI Charlotte to open a parallel file despite Mexican jurisdiction. When a U.S. citizen's unexplained death overseas includes evidence of threats or interstate conspiracy, Homeland Security and the Bureau may seek phone pings, flight manifests, encrypted chat warrants, all without public fanfare. Wright claims she's already spoken to agents who specialize in entertainment industry sabotage. The agencies won't confirm, but airlines quietly log subpoenas for passenger lists on Warner's Red Eye Flight, and a Bay Area cloud storage firm received a preservation order covering his podcast's raw recordings. If that's accurate, investigators aren't treating this as a closed drowning. They're chasing something with teeth. And if that something bites, Hollywood might feel the quake. Hashtag Justice for Malcom hit 100 million views in 9 days. Anonymous employees at 2 talent agencies leaked memos urging clients to avoid commentary. One streaming platform paused marketing on a project featuring Warner's archived voiceover pending sensitivity review. Meanwhile, Anthony Mackie, who co-starred with Warner on an off-Broadway workshop, told people the late actor was a beautiful human being who carried truth like a lantern. When tributes morph into movements, advertisers worry. Executives worry more if federal subpoenas start flying. Union advocates are already drafting artist-safe clause language that would force studios to provide third-party security when credible threats emerge. If a grand jury concludes Warner faced criminal intimidation, expect insurers to reprice policies and streaming giants to insert moral hazard riders into every contract they stamp. Even Wright, usually thrilled to stir chaos, admitted on Instagram Live that this could burn careers I actually respect. And yet she keeps pushing, insisting accountability outweighs collateral damage. Which leaves one question echoing louder than the waves that night. A phone camera catches a restless walk, a riptide claims a life, and the news cycle shrugs, until an outspoken singer reminds us that stories seldom end where press releases say they should. Jaguar Wright might be wrong about the names behind the curtain, but the curtain is clearly moving. Two government agencies disagree on the basics, a publicist's crisis notes leak, and federal eyes appear to be watching from the wings. Somewhere between that tense video and the coroner's paperwork lies a gap wide enough to swallow reputations, stock deals, and maybe an industry's self-image. If Warner really tried to outrun a threat, the ocean didn't erase the footprints. It only blurred them until the tide recedes. And tides, sooner or later, always roll back. So keep your eyes on the shoreline, because every secret weighted down by fear eventually floats. And when it does, the stories we tell about Malcom Jamal Warner may change Hollywood forever. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss any other celebrity gossip. Thank you for watching.